first of all, every child needs access to excellent technology. This is the 21st century. So the same way, I think the same way that our schools provide free lunch to students, free Wi-Fi devices, you're going to receive a substandard education without it. I think we all kind of intuitively knew that. We now all know that for sure, I hope. I think we learned that there is a place for remote instruction in a sense, right? And so I know that we're going back fully in person in the fall. But I do wonder, is there a place where, maybe there's a school without a robust music program? Can students have remote instruction for music with a teacher who might be in a different physical space? Granted, music and many disciplines are better in person. We understand this, but I'm just thinking aloud, like, can we take some of those tools that we learned and keep them? And I would lastly say, like, I hope we realize how valuable schools are as institutions for our communities. I hope more and more families realize how challenging it is to teach because they had to do it first person, how much students need to be in school, and how valuable public schools are to our children. I hope that's not, forgotten over the months and years ahead.
So the drawbacks of remote learning, there's some students that honestly I don't know what they look like, and I taught them for a full year, and I only know them by name. I feel like teaching is like an intimate practice. Like it's not just knowing the students performance wise on a educational or academic task. It's getting to know who they actually are, and we missed out on a full year of that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want things to return to the way they were, or like this whole, like, I can't wait until we're returned to normal. Normal wasn't working. Like, if we're going to shake things up, now is the time. We had several students who normally when they would come into the building would lose instructional days because of behavioral issues. And they didn't lose a single instructional day with remote education. And like, there is obvious inherent privilege in that they have a parent or a caregiver who can be with them at home and can sit with them on the computer. Like, there's a lot of privilege tied up in that, but it really worked for them.
Right. I certainly am on board with wearing masks. I think, though, the realistic implementation of that, the rollout, might be pretty challenging. One is just like, it's hard to be walking around masked up for 8 to 10 hours each day, right? And so I think it will be challenging. And I also just know that students are not going to want to be wearing their masks the whole time. And it's just yet another thing that teachers and staff have to micromanage.
Was a teacher for 14 years. And as almost exactly a year ago, I got a job as a facilitator of a network of schools in Boston that are working on continuous improvement projects related to equitable student outcomes. I'm still sort of figuring out what that means, but I work with school teams at now 8 schools in Boston Public Schools, which has been entirely remote and may continue to be. Before that, I was a social studies teacher and a restorative justice coordinator, and moving into sort of a much more broad and undefined sort of facilitator coach role has been, and having it be entirely remote has been personally interesting and challenging, although I will say there is nothing harder than being a teacher in a school full time.
I was on campus pretty much the entire year. Our elementary students were on campus pretty much the entire year. It was our middle school, it was our high school that were more on and off. In particular, middle school, or grades 6, 7, 8, and 9. They were remote until I believe mid-February. And then even at that point, if there were some cases that started to come up, then a whole class or a whole entire grade would then be sent home to quarantine for specific periods of time. So that consistency, I think that's the word I was getting to. The consistency for adolescents wasn't necessarily there based on the safety and health precautions that were in place. So the steam and traction that I know teachers look for at the very beginning of the year to build that community, to get to know students, to build the rapport and the relationships, never really was there in terms of that connection just between two humans, but then also the connection with the course, the content, the skills, because it's just like, are we here today? Are we not? What are we doing? We're online. I got to modify this. We got to accommodate that. So it's that just inconsistency that I'm curious to see how will play out this year.
That teachers are important.
Not just when it comes to getting vaccinated, because now they're acting as if it's important that we get vaccinated, but
Well, I agree. I think everybody should be vaccinated. I think it should be mandated. Everybody should get it. You shouldn't be allowed inside the building. Student, teacher, faculty, everybody should have it 100%. And if you're not, then you're not getting paid. Like, that's what it should really come down to, because it's the health of everybody, not around you. So if you don't want to get vaccinated, then you stay home, you're not getting paid. That's my feelings.
I mean, more so like during the year, a lot of people were getting down on teachers, not realizing how much teachers were juggling at home or the things that they were juggling in the school building. And we weren't essential workers then, right? We weren't treated like essential workers then. We weren't respected like essential workers then. But now we're an essential worker who needs to get vaccinated.
What would I hope? I mean, the same things that I've been hoping for years, you know, it's about the culture of the country. You know, I would hope that people would stop looking at things without context and without information. You know, I would hope that people would say the changes that need to happen are not, there's no magic bullet that is gonna transform education and thus transform society. You need to address systemic issues in this country.